Thank you, Margie, for the introduction and for inviting me to lead today's workshop. How about getting back to this room? Sounds great. Be careful when you look at the carpet, because Jody mentioned if you look at it too long, you might get dizzy. Today's presentation will cover 3 sections. The handout applies to the 3rd section, so you can hold on to that for a little bit. I hope today's material will give you a boost in writing your own 100-word stories for the contest. So we have introduction, the 6-word story, and the 100-word story are the 3 sections. The name itself is a metaphor. Like a lightning bolt, flash fiction can flare intensely, linger in the mind's eye, stun the senses, and imprint itself upon your memory. So what is flash fiction? It consists of very brief prose, short but not shallow. I like to think of it as a snippet. Whereas a short story is 2,000 to 5,000 words, flash fiction is a short, miniature story of 100 to 2,000 words. Dribble is under 50 words, and the briefest format is the 6-word story. Flash fiction can be likened to a close-up snapshot. Grant Faulkner, co-founder of 100-Word Story magazine, says, "Life is more akin to a collection of snapshots shuffled all about than it is a feature film." Tara Masih says, "A flash is simply a story in miniature, a work of art carved on a grain of rice." Here's a dribble example of 30 words from Richard Brodigan. "It's hard to live in a San Jose studio apartment with a man who's learning to play the violin." That's what she told the police when she handed them the empty revolver. Okay. So how did flash fiction originate? The format originated in fables and parables. Short stories were popularized in the 19th century by Kate Chopin, Walt Whitman, and Ambrose Bierce. In the 1980s, James Thomas and Robert Shepard published an anthology of very short prose, sudden fiction. Then in 1992, the editorial team of James Thomas, Denise Thomas, and Tom Hazuka coined the term in their book, flash fiction. Denise came up with the title during a very strong thunderstorm. Why should we write flash fiction? Well, it's fulfilling and fun. It stimulates creativity by forcing us to think differently. It's fast to write. The time commitment is far less compared to other formats. It can support a habit of daily writing. Jason Sinclair Long wrote 1 story a day for a year, and the best of them appear in his book, Tiny Giants. It's a good first step to writing a novel. It offers a path to marketing. It can help get your name out, earn endorsements of editors, and find a home for your book. There's a huge market for it. The New Yorker publishes it. Duotrope lists 483 markets. There's a wide range of contests. The Best Flash Fiction Writing Contest of 2023 is an online source. 4 Best 100-Word Story Contest, and finally the Cesar Serrano Foundation, where the first prize is $20,000. What are the distinguishing characteristics? Flash fiction focuses readers' attention on the core of the story. It shrinks action and conflict. It compresses time. It's as if the past, present, and future exist all at once, crammed into the same space, disconnected and scattered. It emphasizes subtraction. It involves eliminating every non-essential word, which means every word counts. Faulkner says, what is left out of flash fiction is as important as what is included. Instead of focusing on the more of a story, flash fiction helps us focus on those blank spaces that surround our lives. Writing with gaps has helped me appreciate Hemingway's dictum to show only the top 10% of your story and leave the other 90% below water to be conjured, he said. How does flash fiction differ from prose poetry? This question was triggered during a recent poetry workshop led by Georgette Nunes. When we were doing the exercise, I began wondering, how is this different from flash fiction? So I did some research and found these differences are commonly accepted. Flash fiction is action-oriented, narrative-driven. There's a word limitation. It uses compressed, limited language. A narrative arc is recommended. Character is emphasized over mood. Concrete details are important. You read it for the plot, and something happens with the character. In prose poetry, it's reflection-oriented. Imagery is language-driven. There's no word limitation. You can have unlimited language. A narrative arc is not required. The mood is emphasized over character. Abstractions such as feelings are important. We read it for the tone, lyricism, and mood, and transformation occurs with an image. Sometimes, however, the difference is very little. Author Meg Pockras started writing flash fiction by taking her unpublished poems, removing the line breaks, and converting them into stories. Grace Paley, Russell Edson, and Grant Faulkner assert there are no clear lines of demarcation. You are in charge of the definition of your writing. Our focus now will shift from the introductory comments to information about a 6-word story. Six-word stories provide a fun way to get warmed up to write. They invite playfulness with language, inspire a variety of interpretations, and illustrate how removing verbs can move a story. Some examples of 6-word stories. Probably the most famous and the one you're familiar with is attributed to Ernest Hemingway, For Sale, Baby Shoes Never Worn. Another is Sorry Soldier, Shoes Sold in Pairs. That's from Anonymous. Born a Twin, Graduated Only Child. That's Anonymous. Blake Morrison gives us regarding aging, womb, bloom, groom, gloom, room for rheumatism, and tomb. At the Pork Fork regarding drug use, THC, LSD, DUI, CPR, DOA, RIP. From Art Magazine, Rivka Levy says, age 70, sexy dreams, what's next? Sydney Smith Zavara says, nearing 60, still on rough draft. Sally Friedman, 70, much sags, but spirit soars. Fourth graders during the California fires used rhyme. People mumble, leaves crumble, ashes tumble. Sky red, gardens dead, pets unfed. And by yours truly, please note baby goat ate coat. Endless rain, constant strain, chest pain. Vengeful sun, loaded gun, battle won. Brain drain, lost cane, missed train. Getting old, bell tolled, ground cold. So you're now invited to write a 6-word story. Who would like to share? Just go ahead.
Camera's on, lights gone, so sorry. Cliff seems so close. Oh my.
Randy, say that again?
Cliff seems so close. Oh my.
Retirement years, no alarm, garden calls.
Oh, that's good.
Here sits Big Fit, Big Debt.
Oh, what?
Say it again.
They met, he bet, Big Debt.
Oh.
Here sit Big Fit, just quit.
Muscled man, tanned woman, running fast.
Hail Phil, garden went to hell.
It's a 6-word story writing challenge. Coffee drank, hope sank, mind blank.
Big donut ate 2 pounds added.
Frank.
Inspiration, aspiration, frustration, aggravation, perspiration, jubilation.
That sounds like it sounds just like that.
Cheater, your stuff's outside, on fire.
Roller coaster, breakfast gone, friends mad.
Sherry.
Forgot writing feedback, writer appreciated notes.
Terry.
Dirt, seed, blossoms, fruit, jam, bread.
Tiny toes, bugging woes, time flies.
Randy.
My girlfriend cried, the rabbit died.
6 words is not enough.
Okay, we're moving now into the 3rd section of the presentation, and this is the one where your handout provides a summary. A useful model in writing any story, but I'm going to use it today for writing a 100 story, consists of, how many? 200 word story. What do we do? 100 word story. 100 word story, yes. With 3 approaches. And the source of this model is unknown. I was not able to find who originated this. So there are a lot of websites that kind of claim it's theirs, but it's all over the map. So Panster, a plotter, and the planster. The Panster approach is the one that you just used. So it's writing by the seat of your pants. Random ideas pop into your head. You follow the character wherever they go. Write non-stop, beginning to end as fast as you can, and you edit later. A 100-word example of the pantser approach is one that I wrote, A Real Buzz About the Place. Abner and Enoch caught the guy who murdered Sting. So who is he? Some stupid stranger who didn't follow the instructions on our no trespassing sign and stepped on the snare. Poor sucker. I guess that means we'll be meeting for a memorial service at the fire pit tonight with an all-you-can-eat feast. Yeah, it will be a great way to liven things up around here. Too much monotony lately. The stranger's family reported him missing, but the local sheriff never solved the mystery. The truth is that Sam Matthews wandered onto land owned by a band of wasp-worshipping cannibals. That did not win a prize. The second approach is the plotter approach, which is plot-focused. You compose a 6-sentence outline, expand that outline into paragraphs, and then you condense the paragraphs, omitting the unnecessary words. The 6-sentence outline includes the following. Number 1, the setup, which is a description of one character and one setting. 2, things get weird, something strange happens. 3, things get worse. 4, things get even worse. The climax, a problem is solved. And 6 is the wrap-up. And you can choose a type of ending from the list of 8, which we'll cover in just a few minutes. An example of a 6-word sentence. Example of the plotter approach is Love is Blind by James A. Tweedy. Amala was 18 years old when her parents arranged for her to marry her 53-year-old cousin, Anae. I will not marry him, she screamed. He has no heart, no soul. Her parents were stunned. Please arrange for me to marry Rishi. He's a good boy. We love each other. I want to be happy and have his children. Mama, Papa, please. The next day, 2 men met Amala on the street and threw acid in her eyes, blinding her. Now I shall never marry, she wept. But Rishi married her anyway, and she found happiness in bearing him 3 sons.
Wow.
The third approach is the planster approach, where 6 components provide a comprehensive framework. A title, beginning, character, an inciting incident, rising action, and ending. You address each component, then connect them to create a smooth narrative. I will address each component separately of the planster approach using My Mother Was a Piano by Tanya Hirschman as an example. My mother was an upright piano, spine erect, lid tightly closed, unplayable except by the maestro, thank you. My father was not the maestro. My father was the piano tuner. Technically expert, he never made her sing. It was someone else's husband who turned her into a baby grand. How did I know? She told me. During the last weeks when she was bent, lids slightly opened, ivories yellowed. Every Tuesday, she said, midday, a knock at the door. The first time I froze. clothes. I cut my visit short. My mother didn't even notice. She'd already fallen asleep. The second time I asked questions. Mother, I said, he came round on Tuesdays? How many? We are falling stars, he said to me, whispered my mother, the formerly upright piano. You and me, he said. And then he would take my hand. She closed her eyes and smiled. My father, the tuner, never took anyone's hand. So the title, using this approach, select a title that can be grasped in a moment. Choose an evocative one that says, stop, come in, or that packs a punch. An example of an evocative title, My Mother Was an Upright Piano. So that's the title. And then the beginning, hit the ground running with the first sentence. Open with a grabber. Engage readers from the first few words. Plunge right into the action, cutting extraneous introductions. Create a picture in the reader's mind in as few words as possible. An example that grabs the reader and creates a picture. My mother was an upright piano, spine erect, lid tightly closed, unplayable except by the maestro. The character, create an interesting, flawed character. Give the character a goal and an opportunity to make choices. Show the character in action. Stick with one or two defining traits and their implications. Consider if X happened, how would the character respond? Include a character arc. Provide an opportunity for a change in the character. An example of a flawed character. My father was not the maestro. My father was the piano tuner. Technically expert, he never made her sing. Include an inciting incident. Avoid a backstory. The world is already in full swing. Take readers straight to the heart of the story. Plunge right into the action. Focus on a major event or a single scene in a moment of time. To spark interest, show something strange the character is doing. An example of going straight to the heart of the story, it was someone else's husband who turned her into a baby grand. The rising action. Introduce complications. Build to a crisis, a moment of change, or a transformation. An example of rising action that builds, every Tuesday, she said, midday, a knock at the door. And finally, the ending, resolve the conflict, tie up loose ends, introduce the unexpected, show readers something new, take readers somewhere beyond where the story began, give readers something to take away from the story, and end with a strong finish, perhaps a twist. An example of an ending that ties up loose ends, we are fallen stars, he said to me, whispered my mother, and then he would take my hand. She closed her eyes, smiled. My father, the tuner, never took anyone's hand. Another example of the Planster approach is a story called Outfoxed by Jason Sinclair Long. Wanda reclined in nothing but a peach negligee, extravagantly puffing a menthol cigarette. She exhaled delicate smoke rings, smiling at pleasant memories of the night before. The vague shape of gorgeous Tony from down the block, ostensibly hired to mow her lawn, was molded into her satin sheets. It had been devilishly easy for her to overcome his Christian objections and seduce him. his reticence and naivete turning to mush when he was confronted with the sight of her smooth, bare skin. Opening her jewelry box to retrieve her favorite diamonds, Wanda's smile crumbled. It was empty. A fourth approach is called a mosaic, collage, or kaleidoscope approach. It relies more on evocation, less on explanation. It explores small, telling moments. It deals with fragments. A view of the world is shattered momentarily. The meaning lies in the gradual unfolding of signs and symbols. The mood is as important as the character. Time is out of joint. Images and fantasies and reverie are key. The structure consists of loose ends. There's no plot. It provides more room to explore the complexity of being human. And finally, it produces uncertainty. The following example of the mosaic approach illustrates flash fiction's kinship with prose poetry. It includes both the transformation of an image and a character, and it's called Embroidery by Tessa Frank. Because I couldn't find you, I embroidered little houses and visited each one. Some houses floated, tugging on their threads. Others were sewn to their foundations. I opened woven doors, tread on woven floors, until I found you in our old house playing the piano. We played a duet and made love in the woven bedroom. Each skein was an adventure, threads the colors of flowers. But when we remembered tearing each other's coats in a city park, we ripped up the house. Thread still clings to my breasts and arms. I played both parts of the duet at once. These are among the types of endings that you can consider. So I listed 8. First is a surprise. The story likes to take the readers to an unexpected place. Perhaps it's circular. The story circles back to the beginning. There may be a lesson or a moral. The main character grows, changes, or learns. It could be a warm, fuzzy ending. Readers feel emotional after reading the story. Maybe it's reflective. The narrator summarizes the importance of the character's experience. Questioning. The story keeps readers thinking. Maybe it's humorous. The story prompts readers to laugh. And finally, it could be a cliffhanger. Readers are left hanging, wanting more. So now you have the opportunity to write in the neighborhood a 100-word story. So we won't be counting specifically and see if it measures up, but give yourself a rough ballpark of 100 story. In summary, be on the lookout for small scenes. Make every word count. Use short sentences. Include strong imagery to encourage visualization on the part of readers. For example, don't tell me the moon is shining. Show me the glint of light on broken glass, said Anton Chekhov. Draw on the 5 senses by providing sensory data. Use metaphors and symbols. Employ muscular verbs in place of weak ones with adverbs. For example, the lion bellowed in place of the lion roared deeply and loudly. And in closing, I have a quote from Grant Faulkner, Minding the Gaps. The skill is in choosing the right words and allowing them to suggest far more than they say. The human brain is a miraculous thing with an endless capacity for filling in the gaps. The challenge of writing a piece of flash fiction is to say enough to convey a story which resonates while allowing the reader to infer further layers of meaning. I think the best 100-word stories move with the escalation any story has. They have a beginning, a middle, and an end, a telling pivot, an emotional velocity. The best flash fiction stories provide a close-up shot and possess a tiny shock, something that startles the reader. Thank you.